Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. And in today's episode, we're talking a little Christmas stuff. I know it's the day after, but we're handing out some presents to the Philadelphia Phillies, some hypothetical ones that could help them going forward.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio here for 5 years in the city of Philadelphia, covering all the teams, or rather talking about all the teams. I've been a Philadelphia Phillies credentialed media member for 3 seasons of baseball, and this is my 3rd year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating and reviewing if you're watching this, listening to this in podcast form. If you're watching this on YouTube and haven't subscribed yet, go to the channel. Subscribe to the Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. It gets you notifications when new episodes are posted. It's a great way to help us out here on Locked On Phillies as well. It's the number one way to support the content, so appreciate that. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, yesterday was Christmas, and hopefully all of you out there had a wonderful, Merry Christmas this year. Got everything you wanted on your wish list, had time with family, loved ones, all of that stuff. I had a lovely Christmas. That's why no episode yesterday, of course. Took the day off for the holiday, so hopefully you did as well, and you got some time, again, to relax and open some presents, maybe have a nice meal. I'm sure a lot of you were able to do that. And then I'm sure a lot of you woke up this morning, and when you tuned into Locked On Phillies or you went to go search this episode, you probably were like, okay, well, now it's back to seeing what the Philadelphia Phillies do this offseason. The Phillies have done some stuff, but what I'm going to do today, because this is the first episode since Christmas, and it was just yesterday that we celebrated the holiday, I'm going to give out hypothetical Christmas presents to the Philadelphia Phillies, different parts of the organization, like the front office, position players, pitchers. It could be to individuals. It could be to those whole groups. It could be a new player. It could be something happening this offseason. Basically, it's a wish list come true for the Philadelphia Phillies from my perspective. And I think this will be a fun little exercise to show you like what still needs to happen or what should happen this offseason if the Phillies are going to handle things the best possible way or have things break the best possible way, because some of it is out of their control. There have been no major updates for the Philadelphia Phillies since they signed Joe Ross earlier this week. So we've seen some recent moves in the pitching staff. Jesus Luzardo trade this weekend, Joe Ross signing, a swingman adds to the bullpen, but there's still more to do, and there's still that big-time rumor circulating about Alec Bohm. So we're going to start with the front office, being that it's the offseason. They're the focal point right now. Dave Dombrowski and Sam Fold and Preston Mattingly, these are the guys that are working tirelessly to try and figure out how they're going to build this roster to be a World Series contender once again. And I think they were a World Series contender last year. I think they were a World Series contender the year before. And the year before that, they went to the World Series. So obviously, a World Series contender. Make it 4 straight years of contention for the Philadelphia Phillies. Well, they've taken some steps towards that. The number one present that I would give to the Philadelphia Phillies front office is the ability to trade Alec Bohm. That trade getting done is the number one gift that I would give. And here's why. It has nothing to do with like, get Alec Bohm out of this city. Like, no, that's not what it's about. But when you have these many rumors circulating and all these potential trades and all these comments where apparently Rob Thompson talked to Alec Bohm and said, hey, buddy, we're not shopping you. It's just you're a great player. So a lot of teams are interested. Meanwhile, there have been plenty of reports saying the Philadelphia Phillies are indeed shopping Alec Bohm. And that felt like damage control by the Philadelphia Phillies and Rob Thompson. And also, when that happens and you have all of these rumors around about trading a player or trying to trade a player, especially a guy, every time I talk about Alec Bohm, you're going to hear me say it, 28 years old, arbitration eligible, all-star starter at third base. Those are factual pieces of information about Alec Bohm. I'm not telling you where his ceiling is as a player or anything, but that's a pretty darn good list of reasons you'd want a guy to be part of your organization. That is a guy that would probably be like, why are you trying to move me? If I was in Alec Boehm's shoes, I definitely would be. And it seems to be the attitude issues that we've talked about numerous times and the reason he got benched in game 2 of the NLDS against the New York Mets. But whatever the case may be, the Phillies have had trouble trying to move Alec Boehm. The value just doesn't seem to be where they think it is. And that makes it tough to move him. And I also posed the theory in a previous episode about there could be a situation where other teams are looking at it and saying, hey, this player, if we had him, we would not want to trade him. Like, it's weird that the Phillies are looking to move him. So why would they be looking to move him? Is he damaged goods in some way? And not physically, I mean, but like normally when you're trying to trade a player that at face value doesn't look like you should ever move him, other teams can get wary of that. They can be a little bit nervous saying, well, why would you do that? It's like if I walked onto a car lot at BMW and I bought a brand new Beamer and then I turn around and I was like, I'm going to sell it for $10,000 under what I just bought it for. Everybody would look at me like, what's wrong with that car? That's kind of what's going on with Alec Boehm. So the long-winded way to say that if I could give the front office, the number one gift that I could give the front office would just be to get this Alec Boehm trade done. Because if it doesn't get done, I do worry about what Boehm's mentality is going to be this coming year and how he's going to rebound. Because it's not just the front office, right? The fan base is already ready to say, yo, Bummer, thanks, but no thanks. We're good. We're done. A lot of people are saying they need to move on from him. They don't want to see him on this team anymore. All of this stuff said by the fan base. And, fans say the darndest things. Listen, I say the darndest things sometimes, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm immune to the commentary of the typical fan. No, I say stuff all the time about players that I end up thinking, okay, that was a bridge too far. I was incorrect on this. I was ready to be done with this guy too hastily. So I get it, but it would be if Alec Boehm comes back and plays third base for this team in 2025, that's going to be a situation that in any market would be very tough to work their way through, right? Both for Boehm and the organization. But in Philadelphia, where he's going to get asked about it every day and the fans are going to yell stuff at him and we're going to try and figure out exactly what's being said behind closed doors and the media is going to bring up the situation because they should. I'm not blaming anyone in the media for if that is to happen. Like, that's a story that's going to be a big one, and it's one that's going to be hard to escape. So I think it would be best for both sides if Alec Boehm ends up being traded at this point. But if he's not, something else that I would give the front office, because we've talked enough about that as a gift and explaining why that would be the number one gift that I give them. The other thing that I would want to give to the front office would be a hometown discount from one of their relievers that they lost in free agency, or rather have still opportunity to sign in free agency. But I would love for either Carlos Estevez or Jeff Hoffman to call Dave Dombrowski or their representatives to call Dave Dombrowski and say, hey, man, I love my time in Philadelphia, and the market doesn't quite seem what it's like out here. I'm tired of searching for a contract with somebody else. Bring me back to Philly. That would make their situation so much easier when it comes to the bullpen, because then if you were to move Alec Boehm, you wouldn't have to move him for bullpen pieces, or you could, and then you could drop somebody who's in the bullpen already. But you don't even really have to do that if you bring back one more guy. Like if you bring back Jeff Hoffman or Carlos Estevez, your bullpen is set. Then you could trade Boehm for, I don't know, prospects to reset the organization for the guys you moved, Starlin Caba and Amarian Boyd in the trade for Jesus Luzardo. And then you could be in a situation where you're setting up the future while also maintaining success, and then open up to sign a third baseman. Or hell, you could trade Alec Boehm for an outfielder at that point. I think that getting an extra surprise signing in the bullpen would be hugely beneficial, rather than trying to hope that like an Alec Boehm trade gets done to add to the bullpen or add to the outfield. It just seems to make things a little bit more manageable for the Philadelphia Phillies heading into the 2025 season, because I do have some questions about the bullpen. And I guess I would have last year too. I got to remember what exactly I said about the pen. But a big-time signing of a player that I know works here would make me significantly more excited about the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen this year, even though I do think they're a top, let's just call them right now conservatively, a top 10 bullpen in Major League Baseball. I think we could probably say that about the Philadelphia Phillies pen. And then we'll see where they rank in there, depending on what they do the rest of the offseason, how they pitch in spring training, and how they pitch in the regular season. But those would be, I should say, the two gifts that I would try to give to the Philadelphia Phillies front office as they continue through this offseason. And I tried to keep it realistic. It's not like an all-star caliber outfielder like that. It's just not really a thing that's going to be realistic for this team. But I think those two, and the hometown discount probably isn't that realistic either, but maybe there's a better chance of that. There is, even if it is minimal, one of those guys coming back. Coming up next, we're going to talk about gifts for position players, individual players, the unit as a whole. We'll talk about that in depth and hand out some hypothetical Christmas gifts for those guys as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. First, though, let's talk about our friends over at Rocket Money. Yeah, I think it was my first time telling you guys about Rocket Money, but it shouldn't be your first time hearing about it. First time in a while, at least. And Rocket Money is super important because, speaking of first time hearing about things, it may be your first time hearing about subscription services that you have. You may look on your statement and say, what in the world is this? I've never even heard of this app, this streaming service, this anything. And you forget you signed up for it. Or maybe your kids signed up for it. Or maybe, I don't know, an ex-girlfriend signed up for it and you guys broke up and you forgot you had it. Either way, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. And I love it because I have so many things through sports coverage, ESPN Plus, The Athletic, all of these great subscriptions. But sometimes I'll subscribe for one story to something, or I'll subscribe for one game to watch on a streaming service. And the next thing you know, I'm dropping $10, $15, $20 a month that I don't even think about. Rocket Money can help you manage that so you're not throwing all your money out the window for things you don't even use. And you can cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. So go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. All right, so let's hand out a Christmas present or a couple of Christmas presents to some position players for the Philadelphia Phillies. And this is going to be fun because I'm going to talk about some guys that we haven't really talked about much this offseason, short of the player evaluations, right? Way back when we were doing those in November, right? We were talking about the seasons that certain guys have had, but I have not talked a lot about guys like JT Realmuto or Kyle Schwarber, or Bryce Harper, or Trey Turner, or Bryson Stott, or anyone who's not really in the trade conversations or potentially losing their job. There are a lot of good players on the Philadelphia Phillies that I might not have said their name for like a month's worth of episodes. And now we get a chance to talk about them a little bit because I'd love to hand out some Christmas gifts to some guys. And the first one I'm handing out a gift to, we'll start behind the plate. Still need to find JT Realmuto, a competent backup catcher. I know the Philadelphia Phillies tendered a contract to Garrett Stubbs. I would guess, and this is one of the later moves of the offseason. This is not a priority move, but this is something you could do later on in like January or February. I would guess that the Philadelphia Phillies are still looking to bring in a higher caliber backup. One of the pieces in the trade for Jesus Luzardo was a minor league catcher, Paul McIntosh, who he's not ready for major league play, but that's the thing. They're like looking at the catcher position clearly. What I would guess is that the Phillies go out and they sign somebody to play that backup catcher position over Garrett Stubbs, and he plays in AAA. That would be my gift to JT Realmuto, competent backup catcher, so he has to play less time. I know he wants to play less time, but it's good for his body. Maybe it's just a gift for JT Realmuto's aches and pains and joints after playing years and years at the major league level. So that's my first gift to him. My gift to Bryson Stott, man, just – you know what I think I'm going to give him? I'm going to give him a cement front shoe. All right? That right cleat that he wears, only when hitting, cement. Because Bryson Stott, where I think he gets into trouble at the plate, is he gets into situations where he tries to drive the baseball a little bit more than I think he should for the type of player that he is. And that's fine. Maybe it was the feeling of hitting that grand slam against the Marlins last year in the NL wildcard matchup with Miami. You play him at Citizens Bank Park, he hits that grand slam. It's a major moment. Everybody posts all the videos of the crowd noise and everything. I'm just coming up with fake reasoning, I guess, for this. But whatever the case may be, there are times where Bryson Stott, in his development as a young player, seems to be trying to drive the baseball a little too much for a guy who is a average size second baseman, right? Not that he's a small guy. Bryson's not actually bigger than you would think, size-wise, frame-wise, for a second baseman. He's not Jose Altuve. I don't mean it like that. But he's a guy that his best asset is going to be contact, right? He's going to be a great defender his whole career, but contact is going to be where he makes his bones at the plate and where he really helps his Philadelphia Phillies team. And he's the best with that when he keeps that front foot extended, when he doesn't do the high knee kick, when he doesn't load up as much. It's something that he learned from Gene Segura back when Genie was still on the team, and that was Bryson's rookie year when they made that 2022 run to the World Series. He started keeping that front foot down and basically doing a no-stride swing. That's something that he got away from. Woo! Excuse me. Man, must be coming down a little Christmas cold. But that was something that Bryson Stott got away from a little bit at points this year, I think, when he was struggling, was he was just trying to do too much at the plate. So, yeah, that cement front shoe to keep that foot planted so he doesn't do the high leg kick. We already talked about what we're going to get for Alec Bohm, which would be a new beginning, which sucks to talk about because I like Alec Bohm as a baseball player. I think he fits well with this locker room when things are going well. The problem is the adversity doesn't get dealt with well. That's something that we've talked about many, many times. I really don't know what I would be able to get. Guys like Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, I think they're in the perfect situation right now in Philadelphia. Kyle Schwarber has found his perfect spot as the designated hitter of the Phillies. Nick Castellanos, if he's still here, I mean, you know what? Actually, I'm going to give Nick Castellanos something. I'm going to give him freedom from trade rumors. This dude has just been a throw-in name in every single trade conversation the Philadelphia Phillies have had for about 2 years now. And last year, warranted, right? Had a tough year in 2023. So the offseason after that, you look at it and you say, even though in the 2023 postseason, he was huge against the Atlanta Braves, the regular season wasn't consistent enough. And people started talking about them trying to move that contract to get out from under it, to have some versatility in the offseason planning. And now Nick Castellanos goes out in 2024 and has one of the best years on the team, if not the best year on the team of a position player. And everyone's like, well, move him again. Like, guys, what are we doing here? Nick Castellanos has been big in the postseason for you 2 years in a row. He was big in the regular season for you this past year. You know, like, the contract is not all that expensive to the place where it majorly restricts you. And he played all 162 games last year. That does not happen in Philadelphia. That's a rare feat. That's something that Atlanta does a lot of. Maybe that's the reason that they fall apart in the postseason, because they play too much during the regular season. But the case stands that this is not a regular feat in Major League Baseball. Nick Castellanos, all he does is he goes out there and he plays every game. He tries his best. He tries to put good at-bats together, and he was consistent at the plate. And sure, he swings at that low outside breaking ball far too often. But this guy is a better baseball player than he is a bad one. Like, he is an above-average Major League Baseball player that helps his team win. And he seems to be a good locker room guy, never has any off-the-field issues or anything like that, just takes care of his business. And so many people are like, so mad at Nick Castellanos for, I don't know, having a chill South Florida attitude because he doesn't represent Philadelphia with his work ethic, even though the guy does put all the work in. He needs to be a great Major League Baseball player. I don't know. So Nick Castellanos, maybe I'll just give him like the cone of silence, but it's the cone of public scrutiny avoidance. Like, leave Nick Castellanos alone. Maybe that's what I'll get him for Christmas. Not that I have the power of that or the power to tell Philadelphia sports fans anything of what they should do. But I think he's had, for the year that he put together, and I don't think people have been ripping him this offseason, but for the year that he put together, he should be getting praised significantly. And I'm sure it annoys him to be in the potential trade rumors with Alec Bohm, the fact that the Kyle Tucker trade offer that the Phillies put together included both him and Castellanos and Bohm. So you're looking at a situation where he pops up in that. I don't love that for a player that was a huge part of your team last year, and you could argue the most consistent offensive player. So a couple of awards I'd give out. Bryce Harper doesn't need anything. Trey Turner's got $300 million. He doesn't need anything. Maybe a better glove, but they'll work it out. He'll be in a situation where I don't know. I can't do the Trey Turner defense conversation on December 26th. That's a conversation for if he makes an error. But those are the presents that I'd rather give out to Philadelphia Phillies position players. Coming up next, we're going to give out some presents to pitchers, and this pitching staff is in a kind of interesting spot. So we'll see who we target as far as some gift recipients as we wrap up today's Christmas-themed episode. Let's talk about FanDuel first, because the NFL playoffs are almost here, and it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players are going to score a touchdown or the total amount of points in a game. It's absolutely thrilling. The best part about doing like anytime touchdown, or you could do first touchdown score, you know immediately if you win. So like, let's say I bet Devontae Smith to be first touchdown scorer for the Eagles against the Cowboys on Sunday. He scores, immediately I got more money back in my FanDuel account. I can use that to bet live stuff. Oh, yeah, they got live bets. They got same-game parlays. They got props. They got teasers. They got futures. They got everything on FanDuel. So go ahead and check it out. And you can go ahead and visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's give out a couple presents to some pitchers. And who is most deserving of some Christmas gifts from Santa Connor in this hypothetical world that we're living in? I'm going to start with the starting rotation. And, well, maybe not technically the starting rotation. I'm going to give Taijuan Walker the balance of his contract. Congrats, buddy. You just made however many tens of millions of dollars. Here it is in a check. Please leave us alone. Like that's a tough way to start a Christmas-themed pitchers segment of giving gifts out. But I just want the Philadelphia Phillies to pay the man, give him what they agreed to on the contract, and both sides move on. It's no good for him to be here. It's no good for the Phillies to keep him. It's not going to work out. This is the Alec Boehm situation on steroids. Boehm was an all-star this year. Taijuan Walker was all-time bad. And that's just not something that would be sustainable with him being on this roster in 2025. The fan base would rip him apart. It would be impossible for him to win people back over. I don't know how it's possible that he wins the organization back over to give him a shot, even though he stayed on the roster through the 2025 season, 2024 season. Him moving on would be the best gift that he could get and that the Philadelphia Phillies could get as far as that situation is concerned. But now to people that are going to be. This is going to be a minor league one, but I want it really, really bad. I'm giving Andrew Painter health for the 2025 season. The last thing you need, right, is a setback to the guy that I think is going to be the next ace of this team. In a couple years, when Zach Wheeler undoubtedly has some regression, based on age, and Aaron Nola is not the pitcher that he used to be. And these guys get older, and Ranger Suarez may have signed elsewhere. And Christopher Sanchez is pretty darn good, but we'll see how he progresses. And Jesus Luzardo progresses, and we'll see. A lot of great names, by the way, when you hear me list them out like that, right? But Andrew Painter could be very well the top dog in this rotation in like 2-3 years. Right? That might sound crazy with Zach Wheeler out there. I firmly believe that to be the case, that is a possibility. Not that it's going to happen, but the number one way that it doesn't happen is if this year, in his first year back competitively pitching from Tommy John surgery, he has some type of medical setback, some type of issue. No, that, like, knock on wood, that would be the worst possible thing for the Philadelphia Phillies when it comes to the future of their rotation and the future of Andrew Painter's major league career. And I would give him, if I could, health through this season. That first season back competitively pitching is a big mark to say, hey, okay, I have faith in my elbow still. I have faith in my ability to pitch still. I have faith in my body's ability to recover. Like, I'm still young. I got this. I'm projectable now. I can get back into my career path and everything. That's what you want to see from Andrew Painter. As far as starting pitchers at the major league level, We don't know enough about Jesus Luzardo yet and what he's going to look like here. Christopher Sanchez, he's already got that contract, and he's about as steady as they come. Ranger Suarez, I'm going to give something. I'm going to give Ranger Suarez the contract year to end all contract years, right? He is in his contract season, and he has not been moved by the Philadelphia Phillies, and I don't think he's going to as far as the trade's concerned. So you got one way to make his money. Go out there and pitch his rear end off in 2025. And that is mutually beneficial. It'll get him paid, and it'll help the Philadelphia Phillies be a monster rotation, even though they're going to be anyway. But that motivation for Ranger Suarez is going to be a huge piece of how he performs this year. It absolutely is. And I don't see them giving him any contract extension before the season starts. So that motivation is going to exist. And this is why you don't move him, because you could get an outstanding season. And then, who knows, maybe that outstanding season leads to him coming back here on a big time type of deal to rejoin this rotation. I don't know if the Phillies would be willing to spend that. It depends on how Ranger Suarez pitches in the season, what his numbers truly are. But that's what I want for Ranger Suarez, because not only is it good for him individually, and he deserves it, but it's good for the Philadelphia Phillies. They would benefit from his increased production, or consistent production. We'll just say it's hard. It would be hard to increase what Ranger Suarez did last year in small spurts. You just want to see him do that over the course of the season. But monster contract year for him would be a good thing. Nola doesn't need anything. Wheeler doesn't need anything. Whatever. We'll leave that alone. And as far as the bullpen's concerned, there's one guy that I'm looking at that I really want to. Well, two guys. The first guy I'm going to give something to is I'm going to give Orion Kirkring star status. This dude is ready for his breakout year. He is. And if I could give him a present, I would give it to him in 2025. He had some great numbers in 2024. He was overshadowed by Jeff Hoffman and Matt Strahm both being all-stars, Carlos Estevez being acquired at the deadline. But this dude's numbers were unbelievable. And he's just only in his this will be his second full season when he completes the 2025 season at the major league level. He's got so much time ahead of him to fine-tune himself as a pitcher. And he's already this dominant, this consistently. That is big-time stuff from Orion Kirkring. I think he's going to be a star reliever. I think because he doesn't throw 103 or 104, he won't be Mason Miller. He won't be Emmanuel Clase. But when I look at him and I see the type of pitcher he could be based on the stuff he has, this is one of those years where people outside of Philadelphia know the name Orion Kirkring. I want to give that to him. And I think that's actually a unique remote possibility in these hypothetical Christmas scenarios. The only other thing that I want to give out to the bullpen would be I'm going to get Jose Alvarado a mirror. And no, I don't mean that in the he needs to get into shape way, so he needs to see what he looks like, even though he did call himself a fat boy in spring training last year. You're a reliever. You can be a big boy if you want. No, that's not the point of what I'm saying. I want Jose Alvarado to get a mirror so that he can remind himself who he is. This dude was one of the more dominant lefty relievers in baseball at the start of this past season for the 2023 season, and then he kind of fell off in the middle. And he actually had a really, really good final month. But he wasn't himself, and he couldn't find it. And he had a lot of stuff that he just, he couldn't get feels for pitches, and he had this weird, personal absence from the team. Jose Alvarado had a weird 2024 season. And I think through some of the trials and tribulations of a long Major League Baseball season, he kind of forgot that he's that dude. He is the scariest guy in the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen. It's not Kirkring. It's not Strahm. It's not Hoffman. It wasn't. No, it's Alvarado, because he throws from this low lefty arm slot. And unlike Matt Strahm, he actually throws hard. He's not afraid to throw inside and get in on your hands. He's not afraid to yell at you if he gets you out. He's not afraid to be the guy on the mound that says, this game is over, and I'm going to tell you when it is. And we lost a little bit of that from Jose Alvarado last year. So I need him to get back to the old Jose and be the guy that can go out there on the mound and say, the second I touch this rubber, this is done. Whether it's this inning or this at-bat or this game, whatever I'm asked to do, this is done, because I'm one of the best lefty relievers in baseball. And sometimes you just got to look in the mirror and remind yourself, yeah, I did all that, and I could do all that again. So hopefully everybody on the Phillies gets what we were just willing to give them for Christmas. But more importantly, since that's all hypothetical, hopefully you got everything you wanted for Christmas, or you at least got time off away from work and the hustle and bustle of everything to spend with your family. Thank you for spending the day after Christmas watching this episode of Locked On Phillies. We're going to continue to put stuff out as we move closer to the weekend and the end of December, which we're going to have to do like a year in review show coming up here in a little bit, which I've been teasing. So we'll get that done for you. But a lot of great stuff still to come before we flip the calendar over to 2025 here on Locked On Phillies. Once again, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. And I will talk to you tomorrow on the next episode. No more Christmas theme, but the next episode of Locked On Phillies. Once again, hope you had a Merry Christmas.